She is smart because she plays dumb. The chances of a middle-class immigrant to meet a billionaire in America is very slim. To then dating him, to then marrying him, to then keeping him. To get into these places of power, you have to be extremely calculated and strategic. By the way, this is not a political video, but there's definitely lessons in her lifetime that we can learn from. What made her different? What made him marry her? Melania Trump grew up in communist Slovenia during the 70s. Her mother worked as a pattern maker at a children's clothing manufacturer. Only 7 years young, she participated in one of the fashion shows in that clothing factory. This is where her passion for fashion and modeling began. Eventually, she met this man, Paolo Zampolli, who is a New York-based businessman and friends with Donald Trump. Paolo discovered her and basically said, "You need to move to America, come to New York." Zampolli introduced Melania to real estate developer Donald Trump. He then asked Melania for her phone number, but she refused. And this is where her strategy began. While every other girl would be happy and grateful that a billionaire is asking for her number, she declined and asked him for his instead. He later on publicly admitted that she didn't just want to be another woman that he'll never call. He actually passed her test and gave her multiple personal phone numbers instead of his office phone number. And after just 1 week, he asked her out on a date. But unlike other girls who would be drawn to him and his money, and she gave him an indifferent attitude, unbothered, which piqued his interest even more. She knew exactly what she was doing because she wanted to stand out from the rest of the women he's been taking out before her. Instead of being all needy and desperate, she just remained unbothered. Melania later on explained that she knew how to deal with men like him because his personality was very similar to her own father's. She was so calculated, she had access to his book at the time, studied it, learned about him, and also understood what he was looking for in a relationship. And finally, real estate developer and billionaire Donald Trump proposes to Melania Trump, a foreign-born immigrant who strategically worked herself up into the elite of America. This takes skill. Trump also later on explained to the news that he was willing to marry her because she never insisted on marriage. If you know me in my teachings, I always tell you that men, especially high-value businessmen, millionaires, billionaires, run from commitment because they need freedom. If you take the freedom away, they will never ever commit to you. He also mentioned that she was a big part of his success in his business and influence. You need to be so unbothered and indifferent, relying on your own resources, that even without your man, even if he would cheat on you, even if he would leave you, you can always stand on your own 2 feet. This woman came from nothing and worked herself all the way up. And how did she do it? By not being irrational, by not being emotional, by being calculated, being passive, leaning back and letting all these things come to her because she was never truly dependent on him. Remember that you need to build yourself and your own resources in your life first as a woman, so then everything else like money, success, fame can come to you, and to be able to keep them. Even if they would fall apart, and even if you would cheat on her and break up with her and divorce her, she now has a name, fame, a platform. She's beautiful. She has so many things going for herself. Her life will not crumble, which ultimately makes her the black cat and him the golden retriever. She is smart.